Welcome to the Master of the NEC podcast, the ultimate destination for anyone passionate about the electrical trade. Whether you're a seasoned electrician, an eager apprentice, or just someone who wants to dive deep into the world of electrical work, you've come to the right place. Join your host, Paul Abernathy, a true authority in the industry with over 38 years of trade experience, as he electrifies your mind with in-depth discussions, expert tips, and valuable insights that will keep you ahead of the curve. Each episode, Paul will illuminate the complexities of the trade, decode the National Electrical Code, and share the latest industry trends, all while empowering you to take your electrical career to the next level. So, gear up, plug in, and get ready to supercharge your knowledge, because with the Master of the NEC podcast, the power is in your hands. Now get ready. Here is your host, Paul Abernathy.
What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Master the NEC. My name is Paul Abernathy, your host as always. Thank you for joining me here on the actual podcast where you get to ask me anything you want. In today's topic, we are most certainly going to be talking about working space. And there is a bit of a discussion that's gone on social media about working clearance and if working clearance is, for example, required for a transformer. And so we're going to kind of look at that today and kind of lay that out there. And again, I'm going to say up front, you may disagree with my position, and that is perfectly okay. You are perfectly allowed to disagree with the position that I may have on something. But all I ask is that when you disagree with something, that you actually understand the topic and that you take the time to really dig deep into it, because I'm going to talk a little bit more common sense approach to it than anything else. Okay, so first things, obviously, we're going to be working out of the National Electrical Code. I'm in the 2023 edition, although I will remind folks that the 2026 edition is out. It is available for you to get in link. Now, as far as print version, it is not available yet, but the link version is available. So you're more than happy to check that out. It is available. So if you want to get that, you can go check that out over on the link. Get link and you can enjoy all of that. Okay. All right. So today's episode, let's talk working clearance. 110.26. Now, what does 110.26 actually say to us? So if you got your code book, let's go to 110.26 now, and I'll read it to paraphrase it for you, and then we'll discuss it. All right. So 110.26 says spaces about electrical equipment. It says working space and access to and egress from working space shall be provided and maintained about all electrical equipment to permit ready and safe operation and maintenance of such equipment. Now, in that charging statement right there so far, it's not giving us any distances. That's where we got to go to 110.26a for the working space. But with any equipment, you're going to have manufacturers that give you space that's necessary for transformers. They're going to have ventilation space. The instructions that you can get with this transformer is going to say how much clearance you have to have around the perimeter of the transformer. And of course, we have Article 450 as well to give us some guidance on that type of thing. Okay, you have ventilation holes and all that kind of stuff. So obviously with us, we have to have space around electrical equipment so that we can work on it and things like that. And we don't get into 110.26a, the working space, until we're ready to move into that. And that has its own rules that you have to be aware of. So let's kind of continue on and we'll see how we get into this. Next, it says, open equipment doors shall not impede access to and egress from the working space. Okay, makes sense. So you can't have it so that you're in a room, for example, and you open the doors on the equipment, and then all of a sudden, because those doors are open, they swing open. Now you're trapped and you can't get around those doors to get out of that room if necessary. So that's what it's talking about. So those doors can't impede your access or egress from the specific area, right? That space. So there you go. Now it says access or egress is impeded if one or more simultaneously opened equipment doors restrict working space access to less than 24 inches wide and 6.5 feet high. Okay, so these cabinets, the doors, if they open out, if they impede the ability to get around and impede on your 24 inches wide to get around it, that type of thing, then that's going to be a problem. Okay, so that's just your general statement in 110.26. By the way, if you actually have Link, which is, I do, it's in my phone. It's actually on all of my devices, so I use it everywhere. There's also what's called enhanced content, and it's kind of like commentary. Sometimes that can be very helpful if you read it. And so that's why I highly recommend Link. If you don't have it, it's not that much money to invest in it, but I do encourage you to get it. All right, so let's get down into the first one. So working space. All right, so this is the working space around the equipment. It says, working space for equipment operating at 1,000 volts nominal or less to ground, okay? And I'll remind you folks that when we talk about 1,000 volts nominal or less to ground, remember that a 122 40 volt panel, one of the legs to ground is 120. Phase to phase is 240, but to either one of those legs to ground is 120. So obviously it's 1,000 volts nominal or less. But also this is going to apply to 480 volt systems, maybe delta systems, where you go from the delta to the ground. You're going to get 480. Obviously 208 to ground. All of this falls under the 1,000 volts nominal or less to ground, okay? Now, this is the working space requirement. And it goes on to say, and likely to require, now here's the key sticker here when we start talking about transformers. And we're talking transformers that electricians would install. I'm not talking about utility transformers that the linemen install that's connected to high-powered lines or whatnot. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the transformers, dry-type transformers, all the stuff that we install in buildings as electricians. That's what we're talking about, okay? All right, so it says, and likely to require examination, adjustments, servicing, or maintenance while energized shall comply with the dimensions in 110.26A1, A2, A3, and A4, or as required or permitted elsewhere in this code. Okay. So what are we saying here? Okay, what we're saying is if the piece of electrical equipment that I'm working on is 1,000 volts nominal or less to ground, and it's likely that I'm going to need to work in this equipment to examine it, adjustment, services, or maintain it, then obviously this working space is going to be required. And that's going to send us down to the reference. For most of us, it's 110.26A1, which is the depth of the working space. Then you got A2, which is the width of the working space, and A3 is the height of the working space. And then A4 is for limited access, okay? This might be crawl space or above a suspended ceiling or something like that, okay? So for us, let's talk transformers for a second. If you install a transformer properly and you follow all the requirements in Article 450, you followed all the manufacturer's requirements, you've got proper clearance around it for ventilation, you've done everything you're supposed to do, there is nothing in 450 that tells me that on any side of this transformer, much less the side where the lugs are in there, the X1, X2, X3, XO, and then H1, H2, H3, that type of thing. Once you make these terminations, and once you do that, obviously while you're originally installing it, then you're done. I mean, I shouldn't have to go in there again. There's no moving parts in a transformer. Now, at some point, you may need to, something's not working. You may need to check the voltage to make sure that something hasn't happened with the settings or the tap or something in the transformer. Well, the electrician's not going to open that thing up and check it at those lugs. Why do I need to do that? What I want to do is I want to check it at the secondary. Now, if it's coming from this panel and it's feeding it from this transformer and it's feeding a panel, then I'm going to go to the lugs in the panel, right? They're directly being supplied by the secondary of this transformer. And I know what I should be getting as far as my voltages, right? So same for the primary side. Typically in 450, we're going to have a disconnect for the primary side of this transformer. We're going to have a disconnect. It's going to be within sight, or if it's remote, then you're going to have a label on the transformer letting you know where this disconnect is located. Okay, so you could shut it down when necessary. So at the end of the day, there are people out there that would say, well, I service transformers. No, you don't. You really don't. You think you do, but you don't. Because there is no reason for you to get back in that transformer while it's energized. Okay? So now, if you want to get back in it and check torquing or do something like this, why the hell would you do it while it's energized? I don't see the point in that. Now, I'll be fair. So let's say that you have some projects or some big projects that they require annual torquing and yada, 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 but maybe they determined that the system can't be shut down for whatever reason. I would say that's probably not recommended, but let's say it's a healthcare facility or whatever it may be, then they may have a protocol. But when they do that, you have to remember that they're also going to have a live work permit requirement and that type of thing. And can they require certain working clearances? Yes, if they determine that it is likelihood that it needs to be examined, adjusted, serviced, or maintained while energized. The reality is that is not going to be the case. And you can argue differently all you want. You're blue in the face. You can say I'm arguing on the side of cautiousness. I don't care. I have installed plenty of transformers in my day, and I have not had a need to get back in those transformers. When I need to check voltage or check everything, I can do it at the secondary conductor side that terminate or on the primary side to make sure the voltage coming in is right, and then check the voltage that is coming out on the secondary. I don't need to do anything other than that, okay? And you can say differently, but it's really not the case. Now, so for a transformer, there is no real need for me to examine it. There's no need for me to adjust anything, right? There's no need for me to service it. There's no need for any maintenance on it. It's done. And if I do need to do it, maintenance on it, I don't need to do it while it's energized. Okay? Now, again, we can sit here and argue semantics, play devil's advocate, say, well, Paul, I'd like to always err on the side. Well, you know what? You don't always have the luxury to have this type of working space on something like a transformer, depending on where they're located. Okay? You don't always get that luxury. If you want to do that and you want to make sure it always has working clearance from the access where you would get to the lugs, then you do you, boo. You do whatever you want. I am of the opinion, and I have done enough transformers that I have never needed to get back in that transformer. And if I did, I shut the power down, lock it out, and then I work in the transformer, check the lugs, do all that kind of stuff. That's it. No other need. Now people say, well, what about thermal imaging? You can do that. You do not need to remove the cover to do that. So again, but at the end of the day, I tell people, you do you, boo. Whatever you feel is necessary for you to do what you got to do, you do it. My personal opinion is that I would not need to have working clearance for a transformer. That's just me. All right. You can, I get it. Some of you are going to disagree. And again, my haters are going to be hating on me. I get it. It is what it is. Now, what we've had some people in the comments on some of the social media platforms will say, well, that should go the same for the disconnect for an HVAC unit, outdoor air conditioning unit. Not so fast. So under the 2023 National Electrical Code, under Article 440, they were very clear to add this, although I think it was always there because that is a location under 110.26 that is the location to where typically the service technician, before they go pulling anything loose inside of that air conditioning unit, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go and they're going to check to make sure they have the right voltage there, that they haven't lost a leg, right? So it was 240, but they've lost one of the legs. It's only 120. So they're going to go because the disconnect is easy to check. You just pop it right off. Boom. Okay. No sense in opening up the air conditioning unit outdoors when you can check voltage and all that basic stuff right there. So in order to take voltage readings and things like that, then obviously you're going to do that while it's energized. Makes sense, right? So in that scenario, it was very applicable. Okay. Now, one of the things to hammer this home is that in 440.14, in the 2023 edition of the National Electrical Code, they added one last sentence to 440.14 for location. That is of the disconnecting means. They added one sentence to the end, and that said, disconnecting means shall meet the working space requirements of 110.26a. So right there, you've lost that entire argument when it comes to air conditioning disconnects. They have to have the working clearance. But again, I believe they always had to have it because that is the logical place that you would take a reading for voltage. Now, that's exactly the same thing for the transformer. I'm going to go to the primary disconnect, or if there's a panel in the site, I'm going to use the breaker that's in the panel as my disconnect. I'm going to go right to the panel. Of course, that panel, we take reading and all the time. So we add breakers, we add circuits, we do all this kind of stuff, right? So we have to have the working clearance right there. So that's a given. But in the transformer, it's unnecessary. But for everybody out there that says, well, the same thing applies to the AC unit disconnect, it does not. And then prior to the 2023, it still was the most logical location for testing voltage and making sure both legs are going to the equipment, all that type of stuff. That is where you're going to do it before you start opening up equipment. At least that's what technicians are trained to do, whether you do that or not, and you go straight to opening up the equipment, that's on you. But is not what I recommend. First thing I want to do is get there and make sure that, okay, I'm getting 240 volts to the disconnect, okay? Everything's good. I'm getting 240, and then I'm going to go to the secondary and transformer. I'm going to take a reading at the secondary. I'm going to make sure I'm getting out of that transformer what I'm supposed to get, and then I'm going to say, okay, transformer's fine. If I'm going to do any maintenance on this transformer, retightening lugs or whatever you may have, then I'm going to shut it off. There's no reason for you to work on it while it's energized. There isn't. No need at all. Okay? All right. Well, hopefully that was enough information to help you in this episode, Master the NEC podcast. Make sure you subscribe and join us every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And oh, by the way, we have also added a brand new community forum over on fasttracksystem.com. So go to the website. You'll see it in the navigation. You'll see where it says community forum. Make sure you go in there. If you're already a customer of ours or you've registered on our website before, then you can log right in. There's a login button on there. Just go right in and start posting, sharing images. Make sure you join all of the discussion spaces that you want to be a part of, and just start sharing some stuff and let other people chime in. It's a great way to build the community. It also has a very active feed, so anytime somebody adds something, it'll update it and let you know what's going on. It's where we're going to post updates for future episodes of Coffee Hour. There's also a forum in there where you can make recommendations or suggestions for upcoming episodes. There's a customer support feature in there as well. We also have the chat room, so if you get asked to go into a chat room, then you can actually get with our technicians and we can help you out if you're having any issue. All kinds of great things over on the website. So check it out, fasttracksystem.com. All right. All right, folks, till next time, stay safe. God bless. We will catch you on another episode of Let's Ask Paul, the podcast where you get to talk to me and ask me anything you want about the NEC. Take care. God bless.
Thanks for tuning into another electrifying episode of the Master the NEC podcast. We hope you're feeling more powered up and ready to tackle the electrical world with the knowledge and confidence you need to succeed. Remember, in the electrical trade, knowledge is power, and we're here to make sure you stay plugged into the latest insights, tips, and code updates. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share the podcast with your fellow electricians and industry pros. Until next time, keep your tools sharp, your circuits clear, and your mind focused, because here at the Master the NEC podcast, we're all about sparking your success. Stay safe, stay smart, and keep mastering the trade. From all of us here at Electrical Code Academy, thank you for all your support, and we will see you on the next amazing Master the NEC podcast episode.